Welcome back to Megan's Menu. In today's video, we are going to show you 3 of our favorite dinners we like to make in cast iron skillets, and they're very delicious and very simple to make, and except for the pizza, they're really not a recipe to follow. So these are some of my favorite meals to make, ones that you don't really need to follow a recipe. You just kind of throw things together. First cast iron dinner, we made some homemade pizza. So in a bowl, I started with 1.5 cups of warm water, and to that you add 2 1/4 teaspoons yeast, 1 teaspoon salt, 2 teaspoons sugar, 2 tablespoons olive oil, 2 tablespoons flaxseed, and 1 teaspoon of honey, and then whisk that all together. I just added flaxseed. I like to add that for some extra nutrition. And so you're going to use between 4 and 4.5 cups of flour. I wouldn't add all of it until, you're sure you want to add more. If it's sticky, add a little bit more, but just keep working with it because you'll be kneading it for several minutes and you'll be able to tell if you need any more or not. Also, after you add your liquid ingredients, before adding, well, not all of your liquid ingredients, before you add your flour, you whisk it all up, and then you just let it sit for between 5 and 10 minutes before adding your flour. So after you are done kneading your flour for several minutes, and you don't need to add any more flour, make sure you oil your bowl and then put your dough into the bowl and move it all around so the oil gets all around your dough, and then cover it with a towel for like between 1 and 2 hours, and you'll see that it is at least doubled in size. So I'm going to punch it down and then just knead it a little bit. So then what I'm doing is just using some very standard tomato sauce, and I'm going to add some oregano and garlic powder. Very simple. And I'm just preheating my cast iron skillet here. So while my cast iron skillet is getting warm in the oven, I am just going to start kneading, or not kneading, but what does it mean? Not rolling out. Forming my pizza dough. And then after a few minutes, I'm just going to carefully put my dough into my cast iron skillet that has been greased. Of course, it was anyway, but I added a little bit of oil. And then I will poke the dough with a fork all around it. And then I'm going to preheat my crust before putting on my sauce and toppings as well for a few minutes in a 400-degree oven. Before I put it in the oven, I rubbed the dough with a brush with olive oil, and then it went into the oven for approximately 5-ish minutes. And then I'm just going to put my sauce on top, and then whatever toppings you want. Obviously a good amount of cheese, pepperoni, whatever you can use, cooked ground beef or ham, anything. Bacon would be really good. Anyway, we're just using basic pepperoni. And then you're going to want to put it back in your oven till it's done. It'll take, I don't know, about 10 to 12 more minutes. So we also made a nice ooey gooey regular cheese pizza as well, but it is so good and cheesy. So that was really delicious. You'll have to try these. And a good tip to always remember when you're working with cast iron skillets is to always preheat your cast iron because it prevents sticking of the food. So definitely always remember that. So the next cast iron skillet dinner is cottage pie. So I am working with my 2 medium-size cast iron skillets together because one is not enough, and it's kind of taken the place of a 13 by 9 casserole dish for us here. So I just scrubbed my potatoes and I'm peeling them. I probably used, I don't know, approximately 2-ish pounds. Just enough to cover the tops of, probably not even 2 pounds, of these 2 skillets. So basically the first thing you need to do is wash and scrub your potatoes, peel them, cut them up, and make mashed potatoes. Because these are what is going to go on top of your cottage pie, which is basically boiling these potatoes in water for about 15 to 20-ish minutes, in salted water, of course, too, and then mashing them up with some butter, milk, unless you want heavy cream too, or cream cheese, however you make your homemade mashed potatoes. So what I'm using for this cottage pie is a bag of frozen vegetables, and you'll see a baggie of meat that was cooked and frozen already, and that's it's probably 1/2 pound to 3/4 of a pound of cooked ground beef. So how I did this was I just added my vegetables and my meat to a bowl to make it easier on mixing it, and I also added in a can of corn as well and mixed that in there. I threw in some garlic powder, about probably a teaspoon, and a teaspoon of oregano, and then about 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder as well. And then I'm adding some rosemary to my mashed potatoes. And then of course you have to take a taste test, and it was really good.
Delicious.
You can always tell if you need like a little bit more butter or milk or anything. So I'm just preheating my cast iron before I add the stuff and then put it back into the oven. Obviously I'm just dividing it between these two to make it go further, because one would not be enough, like I already said. And then you just put your mashed potatoes on top. So the cast iron was obviously already oiled, but after I put it in the preheated it in the oven, I added a little bit of butter to it as well, to the pan, before putting everything on top. And then I put it in the oven for approximately 25 to 30 minutes, and then before it was done I took it out and put cheese on it for about 5 more minutes. I put it back in the oven after that. And I can tell it's done when it starts to get a little bit, it's really crispy looking, and it's not really crispy looking, but in certain spots you can tell with the cheese especially, and it's just, this is one of my favorite meals. It is so good. And the cast iron, it worked really well too. So for the last cast iron skillet dinner is Tater Tot Casserole. This is another very delicious and very easy dish to make. So I'm just showing you all the ingredients I'm going to be using. So I have about a pound of cooked ground beef, some corn, the tater tots obviously, and then I have that jar of homemade cream of nothing, I call it, like creamy soup. You can use equivalent 2 cans of cream of mushroom if you wanted to do that. So to a bowl, I'm just adding my 1 pound approximately of ground beef, cooked ground beef, along with about a cup and a half of corn, to equivalent 2 cans of cream soup, which I have a homemade kind, so, and then I added about a half a cup of milk, and then you just stir it all around and add salt and pepper, of course. So the milk ended up being about 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup of milk total. So I have my preheated cast iron skillets, and I'm putting some more butter in them before starting to add my ingredients to them. And meanwhile, have your oven preheated 425. So to the bottom of your skillets, add enough tater tots to cover the bottom of them. And then you're just going to divvy it up evenly between the two of them, the rest of the everything that's in the bowl. And then I cooked it for about 30 minutes. And then after you added everything from your bowl, go ahead and add whatever's left of the tater tots between both of them on top. And then you cook it for about, or you bake it in the oven for about 30 minutes. And then again, I did the same thing with the cheese. I added cheese and then put it back in for like 5-ish minutes for it to melt. And then it's done after that. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching our video on some cast iron skillet meals, and they were so delicious and very easy to make. Just one tip to remember always is to preheat your cast iron before using it, because it really does help with the food not sticking.